Hi, how are you? My name is Kubeir. Welcome to my channel. Nice to see you all here finally. Doing it after some time. Haven't been doing any of these live for quite some time. So, back to doing it again. And today's subject, which has been on top of so many people's mind, and on my mind as well. And I agree, it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating to wait for everything at every step of the time. So you keep waiting. You start with your IELTS and you wait for your results. Or first, actually, no, backtrack. We first try to get your IELTS results. You wait for IELTS. Then you try to get your ECA and you wait for your ECA results. If you don't get your positive ECA, then of course you will go to somebody else and then again wait to get your ECA. Before you get your ECA, obviously you will wait for your colleges to not do the needful in terms of giving the clarification or giving the confirmation of your credentials, right? Okay, once you get the ECA and then you create your express entry profile, if at all you're going through the EE process. And after you do that, then you wait and you wait for your express entry draw, okay? And that for some time, it's hot, okay? And that for some time, as you all know, has been evading us like nobody's business. And and we continue to wait. And after that, once you get your ITA, you will submit your application and then you wait again. You wait to get your medicals passed. You wait to get your biometrics request. Once you get that, then you wait again and you wait to see any updates, to see any ghost updates, to see any changes in your application. And then you wait for your PPR. And then after you get your PPR, you wait to send your passport to VFS and then wait again to get your passport back. Once you get that, then you wait to travel. Once you travel, you come to Canada, then you wait for your PR card, and we go on and on and on. It's a never-ending story. Trust me, I've been there, and it was extremely stressful. But now the wait, the whole understanding and the whole meaning and scenario of this wait has changed because, welcome to the COVID world. Who would have thought, in the beginning of 2020, this COVID is going to sort of shake us up and give us these new realizations of what wait and waiting process is all about. So today's video is about all those frustrations that you may have in terms of waiting for, or rather endless waiting for so many different things. Let's see if we can tackle some of the questions. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of some of the issues there and see where and what some of these wait times mean. Because with this COVID, there are a lot of other wait times which have also added up, right? I mean, besides what I was just running through. So yeah, let's get on with this. Okay, thank you so much everybody for joining in. Again, let's restart. My name is Kubeir. Welcome to my channel, and you're watching live TV, right? And thank you so much for having joined in. We have Eknoor, we have Gurpreet, we have Ali, we have Ramesh, Mohsin, Shaful. Almost 300 of you. Thank you. First questions first. And let me just get that first. Right. Let's hear that as well to understand what are your particular frustrations in terms. Okay, I know we will get to the express entry draws and the FSW draws and when and how and the prospects, etc., etc. We will get to that, of course. I mean, now that we are here online, we may as well get to those questions as well, because a lot of you are getting bogged down with that endless wait. But let's see if there are any other frustrations in terms of waiting. I know people are waiting for their COPR extensions. People are waiting to get their biometrics done. So a couple of them are the big ones, but let's see if there are any different ones from these waits. Okay, while we are waiting for people to put on their comments to see what they have been frustrated about, I'm just checking some of the comments here. Mosquitoes have been biting me a lot. Okay, let's start with the first things first. COPR, okay, which has been the recent addition to the wait list. When I'm talking about COPR, I'm referring to the COPR extensions. Okay, so what's happening with the COPR extension? Okay, recently, I think since yesterday, some people have been circulating certain screenshots saying that no longer is the 18th of March criteria applicable, which is not correct. Okay, because people are not reading it in context. People are not willing to click on the link to see further what CIC is talking about. So as of right now, there is no specific change. So what is the requirement? The requirement is that if your COPR has been issued on or before the 18th of March 2020, you can come to Canada, you can fly, I mean, you can travel, you can be here. There is no issues whatsoever. And wait a minute. Okay. And if your COPR has been issued after the 18th of March, then you cannot travel at this point of time. That is a simple, straightforward requirement based on this COVID scenario. There is no confusion about it. There hasn't been any change. There has been a change with regards to the United States. So if you're coming from the United States, on the IRCC guidelines on the IRCC website, they have removed the text which says 18th of March. So it will then be our understanding or assumption that if you are in the United States, and even if your COPR was issued after the 18th of March, then you may be eligible to travel at this point of time. But we will need to get clarity on that, because sometimes, if they have missed a text here and there, you could arrive all the way in Canada and realize that you're not allowed to come in the first place. So a little bit of clarity is needed. But yes, as far as the textual aspect of the website is concerned, or you know what, let me just quickly jump onto this and show it to you. And while I am getting onto that, hold on. I should be able to find it quickly. It's usually on my... Oh, okay. It's not there. Yeah, okay. I can't find it right now, but I don't want to sort of take up your time while I'm trying to look for it. So, if you were to go to CIC website and look up the program delivery instructions based for the COVID-19, you will find that that the small change is evident, that they have specified people who are coming from the United States and people who are coming from outside the United States. So basically means the whole world, right? So United States, the text of 18th March exemption or the restriction is missing. For the rest of the world, it very clearly says that if your COPR is issued on or before 18th of March, you can't come in. So there is a difference in the text. That could very well mean that if you are coming from US, you may be eligible to come in. But do check with CBSA before you make your travel plans. Very important. That's the first aspect of it. The next aspect of waiting and frustration, which has been huge for a lot of you out there, is the extensions of COPR. Okay. Now, as of now, I have not heard of anyone getting their extensions. Okay, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if they are trying to avoid any discretionary travel, they are not looking to provide any extensions as of right now. That's number one. Number two, it is my opinion that COPRs cannot be backdated when they issue, right? So if they are to issue you a new COPR, which is evident because the previous one would have lost its expiry, they would have to issue a new COPR, and the issue date on the new COPR could well be current, and therefore you could not travel under the current exemptions. That could also be one of the reasons why they're not doing the extensions. Number three is that they are still trying to get around as to figuring out what they are going to do with the whole process, and allowing who and not allowing some, and what's happening. So in the big scheme of things, it's a mess, and trust me. And in their effort and attempt to wanting to avoid discretionary travel or people who don't need to travel at this point of time, they haven't really got around to a clear understanding. Sorry about that. The clear understanding of how the extensions will happen. Then we had a lot of people started sharing these screenshots from IRCC email, which said that they will, they want to see a plan for you to make your permanent residence in Canada. Only then they will be giving you the extensions. And then it also showed up on their website that only if you are coming to Canada to settle permanently, you should be able to inform CIC, and then they will process your extension request. So again, as you can realize, that they're trying to cut down on discretionary travel, which is quite sensible. So what they're trying to say is that if you're coming to Canada because you want to now reside in Canada permanently, then do let them know. And along with that, let them know your settlement plan. So now this is an addition which was never there before. So they want you to tell them what you're going to do for your residence, as in where are you going to be living, and what are you going to do for your job, or what are you going to do, in terms of your settling down, and is this your permanent settlement? And all this will be their basis on how soon they will give you the extension. Now, you also need to understand that soft landing, the term soft landing is not a legal term or a technical term as far as IRCC is concerned. So when people keep asking them, so is soft landing not allowed? Well, what they have specifically said is that if you're traveling for the purpose of activating your application status, or just finalizing your application, which basically means when do you finalize your application? You arrive in Canada with your PR visa, COPR, for the first time, activate your permanent resident status. That is when you finalize your PR application. So they are saying if you're coming to Canada only for the purpose of finalizing your application, then don't come as of now, because it's discretionary travel. You can well avoid it. I know, they don't think like you and I, right? We want to just get it over right now, and you don't know what tomorrow brings, kind of a thing, and you might have been waiting for such a long time. But that's CIC for you, right? So they want to know if you're coming to Canada for permanent reasons, as in you will settle down permanently. Let them know, and then they will probably at some point of time guide you further as to what they're going to do as in the next step of extending your COPRs. As of right now, if you are looking for any updates, when, I don't know, because they haven't announced, they haven't told anyone, and we haven't even seen anyone getting their extensions as of now. And trust me, with a group strength of nearly 200,000 people across different Facebook groups that we have right now, we would know of someone who would have got an extension, if at all they would have. So it's an unknown factor right now. So what do you need to do if your COPR has expired or is expiring, nearing expiry? So if it is expiring in October, don't worry. Don't worry about it right now. But if it's expiring next week, then do let IRCC know that you cannot travel. Either you are unable to travel or you are unwilling to travel. Both situations are fine. You don't have to travel if you don't wish to because of COVID pandemic, and you can very clearly tell IRCC that you don't wish to travel right now. And when you are at a later stage, when you are willing to travel, when you will be ready, when things have normalized, things have stabilized, then do let them know that you are now ready to travel. They will guide you further as to what needs to be done. In some cases, and people again get confused about reopening of application. Yes, application has to be reopened because they can't issue your COPR otherwise. So in order to reopen the application, in order to issue the COPR again, they may need to do certain checks again. And those checks are not about your IELTS scores, your language scores, your education, your work experience, etc. No, it's none of that. It's only primarily going to be your health, which is going to be your medicals. In some cases, criminality, okay? So they may ask you for new police clearances, in some cases. I keep using these words, may, rarely, in some cases. So don't fret out and start thinking everybody needs a police clearance. No. And they definitely will do a security check again, which is quite obvious because a long time has passed, and God forbid some of you have got involved in some unwarranted activities. Then you may be inadmissible to Canada, which is always a concern. So once they have confirmed and cleared these checks, then they will be able to issue your new COPR. What will be the validity of the new COPR? Again, as I said, and I keep saying again, we haven't seen any extensions yet. We don't know what the process they're going to follow and how they're going to follow. So until such time, we are going to continue waiting, continue getting frustrated, and seeing where this whole thing is going to pan out and how. And trust me, as and when it happens, you will hear from me. You will probably see another video, you'll probably see it on our groups, and you will know what's happening. So that's as far as the COPR extensions are concerned, okay, which was a big one. Now let's see who else have been commenting. Oh, my mouse went away. And all right. I'm just taking this comment. Harpreet Singh is saying, please try to address one rejection case. I have messaged you on Facebook. Harpreet, if you have messaged me on Facebook, I don't respond to personal messages, unfortunately, because there are just too many of them to sort of give individual attention to. It's not fair to everybody else, so it always has to be in the group. And if it's a rejection case, then you should be referring, or rather seeking professional help if it's your rejection case. Okay. Okay. Then we have Shauvik. He says, we're still waiting for PPR since January when our biometrics got done, and have applied for GCMS notes, waiting for update. Any idea till when we can receive PPR? Okay, so now let's take this next issue of PPRs, right? So there are a lot of you out there who either feel or who either okay, all right, sorry, we will bring Siddharth. We will bring you in a minute. Let's see how that goes. Just give us a moment. I'm going to send you a link and we'll bring you on. So before we get to Siddharth, because he has to discuss some COPR extension issues. So before that, we are coming to, what was I talking about? PPRs, of course, PPRs. So a lot of you may have got an update from CIC that your application is approved. They're only waiting to finalize the application by issuing your PPR. For a lot of you who do not understand what is PPR, PPR stands for passport request. A passport is requested when they have decided to issue your PR visa. Okay, so in such cases, a lot of you are wondering why the PPR request is not coming through. You have called CIC plenty of times, you have messaged them, you have got probably your GCMS notes, and all of them have aligned and told you that your application is approved, your application is done, everything has been done, everything has already been included, and all that you're waiting for is a PPR. And what's holding them up? Well, obviously, if they issue you a PPR, it will have a 30 days validity. Now, if it has a 30 days validity, you need to submit your passport within the 30 days period. But the problem is, in a lot of countries across the world, the visa application centers, or VFS as you would call it in your home country, they haven't reopened, they haven't resumed normal operations. Not only that, there are still lots of Canadian visa offices across the world which haven't resumed normal operations, again due to COVID pandemic. So instead of CIC becoming discretionary of issuing only certain PPRs, they have probably held back on issuing PPRs for outland applicants because of the pandemic scenario, because it's just not feasible at this point of time to issue the PPR, because you can't do anything with it, right? There are lots and lots of you out there who were issued their PPRs in the month of February, and they haven't been able to submit their passports. Even they have been waiting eagerly for VFS to open. There were several of you who did deposit your passports with VFS, but they haven't heard back from them because VFSs are closed. So that is the condition, or that is the scenario I'm assuming IRCC is looking to avoid. So please, just with all things pandemic related, patience is going to be tested really to the highest levels, and that is something which you will have to really keep your hopes up with as far as your patience levels are concerned, that they don't run dry. So do whatever you need to do, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, whatever else that you do to keep your stress levels down, your patience is going to be tested. So as far as PPRs are concerned, I know so many of you are eagerly waiting, but unfortunately that is how it is, right? So you will need to wait until CIC finally decides. There is no point of fretting about it. There's no point of getting into debate with people as to what. A lot of people come back and say, okay, this is what they should be doing. But it's not for you and I to tell them what they should be doing. They have their laws, they have their policies, they have their procedures, what they are following. And I'm sure they have a good set of brains who is guiding them or telling them what needs to be done in these times. So so your and mine commenting on social media groups as to what they should be doing is same thing like when Sachin Tendulkar is batting and we are watching on the TV. He should have cut the ball, or he should have hit a square drive. But you're not playing, right? So you do not know how the ball's coming on you. So it's the same thing. We can all be watchers. We can all at this point of time just wait for the final processes and procedures to come out, and then we will know better as to what needs to be done. Right, now let me first get to Siddharth. Siddharth, I am now going to paste the link. You can use this link. The link is on the screen right now. You can use this link, connect, and I will bring you on the screen. I'll bring you onto a live chat with me and see what you need to share or what you have to share as far as extension of COPRs are concerned. All right. Right. The next weight subject, which a lot of you have been missing, is this one. FSW draws, right? So what did CIC do with us last week, right? They played teaser kind of a game. And there were so many people out there who were speculating, oh, it's going to happen in December, it's going to happen now, and we have internal sources and internal whatever, blah, blah, blah. But everybody has internal sources, and that's their intuitions, or it's their sensibilities, or it's their logic. And sometimes somebody comes and whispers something in their ears as well. Fair enough. Everybody knows that, or everybody understands that FSW draws or all program draws will resume at some point of time. It's obvious, right? They cannot continue doing only CEC specific or PNP specific draws for the whole year. It's practically, technically, logically not possible because they are gathering so many profiles in the pool. Again, a lot of it has to do with pandemic. A lot of it has to do with COVID, and a lot of you have been asking, why should CEC be given preference? Well, there are a few reasons why CEC was why CEC was given preference. One of the reasons was that a lot of Canadian experience class candidates may currently be in Canada. So if they are in Canada, they may be running out of status. So maybe their postgraduate work permit is expiring. Maybe their study permit is expiring, but then study permit won't be CEC, right? So let's take them out. So yeah, maybe their postgraduate work permit is expiring. Maybe their spouse open work permit is expiring. Maybe their closed work permit is expiring. So either of this could be a possibility with them. And then they would be out of status. Then they need to restore their status, but they can only restore their status as visitors, and lots of issues cropping up as far as CEC applicants are concerned if they were in Canada, of course. Now, so therefore, CIC, in order to make it a bit easier for those people, because they're already in Canada, and statistics have proven that if you are in Canada, you would probably, or rather, if you have been working in Canada already, it will be easier for you to, to integrate with the Canadian economy, to the Canadian marketplace, to Canadian job market, etc. And therefore, I'm sure the step was taken. And then they realized that it's attracting a lot of positive attention from people inside Canada, and they have continued with the draws only CEC specific. Yes, I know. To be a CEC candidate, which is Canadian Experience Class, you need to have 1 year work experience in Canada within the last 3 years. And at the time of the draw or the application, you may not even be in Canada. You may have already left Canada, which is fine. That's not a problem. But the large, or rather a big majority of the people would probably still be in Canada, and this was to facilitate them. Okay, so and that has been a huge blessing in disguise, because we have seen CEC draws tumbling like like Jack and Jill, if you want to call them, and because these guys are tumbling, or rather because the CEC draws are tumbling down, it is giving hope to lots and lots of candidates who are in express entry pool, CEC candidates who just had no other option, right? They were just running out of options. They didn't know what to do. They were actually desperate because they had invested a lot of time and effort and money to come to Canada, whether it was to study, whether it was through closed work permits, whether it was through their spouse open work permits, or whatever was the process and the reason. And it's amazing that they've got an opportunity. So don't feel bad about it. I can understand, because remember, every single time there is a draw, there will always be some people who do not get picked up, right? Because it's either the tiebreaker, or it's either you are 1 point less than the scores drawn. So there will always be somebody who's disappointed, and rather hundreds and thousands of it who will be disappointed. So with each draw, everybody can never be happy. So it's one of those things. So before you get all angry and anti CEC class, just feel for them. Just understand that they haven't had it easy either. Now, coming to FSW draws. So it was the understanding that once things will start stabilizing in different parts of the world, FSW draws would resume. And therefore, this talk about summers came in because obviously we saw a big part of the winters and then the spring with the COVID, and then the summers came in and we were expecting the draws will resume at some point of time. Then there was this talk that end of summers will see the FSW draws resuming, and voila, CIC, I mean, nobody comprehended or expected it, but the draw happened. And 478, which was a ridiculous score, came out. Now, the problem with these scores is people are expecting, without thinking, that the scores will jump to 480, 490, 500, 510, 520 kind of scores. How will they jump to those scores? You have to understand what adds up to these scores, all right? So for a score to be more than 480, so maximum, I think, so if you are the best prime age for express entry, which is 29, if you have a master's degree, if you have 3 years of if you have 3 years of foreign work experience, and you have IELTS top scores, let's go with the top scores, the CLB 10. Even with that profile, the maximum you can score without any Canadian connection is 481 or 482. I may be going 1 point here and there, but that's the max you can get. How many such profiles you think are out there? Just give it a thought and think how many such profiles are out there who can score CLB 10 in all 4 factors and have all these factors. I'm sure there are plenty but there still cannot be 3,900 of them, right? In every single draw. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is that in order to score, for the scores to go 480 plus, it basically means CIC will effectively remove federal skilled workers completely, because as a federal skilled worker, the maximum points without Canadian connection or siblings or whatever, anything to do, if it's going to be 481, that's the max. And if your draws are going to consistently jump over 480, then you may as well shut down federal skilled worker stream, right? Why fool people into saying that, okay, we have a separate program called federal skilled worker, because it wouldn't make any sense anymore. But therefore, you need to understand that when people say the scores will touch 500s and 490s and all that, yes, it may happen for 1 or 2 blips or maybe 1 or 2 draws where the number of people with very high level of Canadian education, Canadian work experience, maybe a job offer in Canada, etc., have all added up and are sitting in the pool. So there could be X number of people who might at some point of time join the group, or rather join the pool, and therefore one odd draw might sort of see a high of 480, 490. But that's it. It will then come down, and it has to come down, right? Even now, again, you have to put it into perspective. The federal skilled worker or the all program draw happened after, so the last draw was on the 4th of March. So April, May, June, July. So almost 4 to 5 months almost, right? So even after 5 months, the score only went to 478. Now that itself should sort of ring some bells in your head and say, okay, the scores can't go out of hand completely, right? After 5 months of a gap, when they were doing only CEC draws and not federal skilled worker draws, the federal skilled score went only up to 478. So what does that tell you? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? So first of all, don't start freaking out and think, okay, the scores are going to touch to 500s and 500, it will remain at 500s, etc., etc. It won't. It's technically not possible, okay? And if it does get to that, then at some point of time, they may as well come and withdraw the federal skilled worker program. And then we will all know that, the scores are going to be at the ridiculous levels. Now, when will federal skilled worker draws resume? I'm also going to go with the same analogy that at some point of time, before the summers are over, or in the next few weeks or next few months, they will need to resume federal skilled worker draws. There has been a huge gap, and they just cannot manage so many people in the pool and not having given them ITAs. There are so many of you who are losing points with each approaching day, each approaching month because of your birthdays. I can. It's painful, You may have worked so hard to get your scores to 470 plus. okay, and then CIC. It's actually not CIC's fault, right? Let's not make it their fault. And then the COVID struck, and whatever is the reason why COVID happened. Well, God is sort of, or rather, nature is trying to get back at us in some way. And now that we have COVID, these things are being put into place to sort of do whatever they can to protect their citizens and the residents and the people in Canada. Now, by this and whatever the analogy behind this or the sense behind this is, if this is what it is, then this is what it is, right? You and I, we can get frustrated, we can get angry, we can get upset, but after that, what? So all that we are harming is, or anybody who's getting harmed in the process is us. Okay, so think about it. And okay, so let's get Siddharth Halawat. Hi, Siddharth, how are you?
Hi Kubeir. Hi Kubeir. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you, Siddharth. So you have something interesting to share about
Uh,
COPR extension.
I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I do not have any extra. I mean, I cannot go beyond your expertise in terms of information when it comes to a COPR extensions. But yes, I would like to discuss on this if you have a couple of minutes spare.
If it's going to be a personal questions, no.
No,
Then,
no,
but
no,
if
no,
it's
no,
going
no, 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 no,
to,
no.
yeah,
It's not a
let's go for it.
question.
If it's
So,
if it's common good, let's go for it.
all right. So, Kubeir, as we all know that they haven't written down or jotted down any clear cut or concrete information on when and how they are going to extend the COPRs. But
Yeah.
they, like a couple of people have received their responses in terms of because the IRCC has asked them to formulate a plan of how they're going to get settled over there, how they're going to get a job. Because the quarantine plan is a different story altogether. But when we talk about the settling plan, when we talk about the job plan, so how can we take? I mean, in what manner are we supposed to take this particular condition? Because we have applied for a permanent residence, so of course we do not have any job offers from Canada as of now. So we were always going to go there first, get settled, and then search for a job. So, what kind of message are these people going to are giving to us?
The message they are sending is that don't come if you are not looking to settle permanently. All right, and I can again understand, because if you come back to we have another Facebook group, right, which is post PPR, which is for people who have got their PPRs and now looking to come to Canada and settle in now. You will see, as and when the COVID started, the beginning stages of the COVID, there were so many people who had already landed in Canada, and obviously they didn't have jobs, and they were finding it extremely difficult because they were not entitled to any of the benefits that Canada had announced. So with millions of job losses, with absolute restrictions on getting out of the house, in whatever manner that you could, with not being able to go for interviews, with your mobility severely restricted, they found that their proof of funds, the settlement funds that you were asked to bring in, is very quickly getting depleted, right? And what do you think would happen to some of those people, say 6 months later, when all the proof of funds is over? There is no help coming from the government, because obviously government is not going to help, in that scenario. What is going to be the mental state of those people? Okay? Just give it a thought, right?
Of
So
course.
what Canada is trying to do right now is do two things. One, they are trying to avoid people who are just trying to come to Canada to finalize their applications. Well, don't come, right? Because if you're just looking to finalize your applications, it's not important for you to travel. One, you will put yourself through some very serious, travel trauma, which lots of videos are talking about. All kinds of restrictions and issues. So don't put yourself through that travel trauma. And number two, just apply for extension as and when you're ready to travel, because by your traveling you are increasing traffic. Okay, and God forbid you are asymptomatic, then you're also giving chances to people who will be in touch with you, and you will come to Canada, you will be put in quarantine, you will have to go through mandatory quarantine. So you are increasing the workloads for everybody in through the process from the time you will travel to you'll arrive in Canada, when you don't need to do it, right? You can skip the process. So that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid, or they're trying to cut down that discretionary travel, or travel which can be avoided. Now, if you are someone who has decided that this is the time that they do want to come to Canada, that they probably would have resigned back in their home countries, they would have sort of given up on their home lease, or maybe packed up and ready to travel before COVID hit. And what are you going to do, right? So yeah, by all means, you are welcome to come to Canada, in the sense of that's what CIC is saying, that give us a settlement plan. They are not asking you to have a definite job before you enter Canada. They're asking you for a plan. Again, because this is something new, there is no historical trend or historical data on this. We do not know anyone who has given a settlement plan and succeeded, so we don't even know what to draw as an example out of, or what to draw some sort of let's say some sort of
Of course.
let's
Of
just
course.
say an
No,
example to that.
of
So
course.
without that, all you can do is make a best effort to make a settlement plan. And what does a settlement plan would be? Settlement plan would be basically drawing out your effort to identify how you will support yourself economically. That is, I think, the biggest concern, because yes, finding accommodation is not a big deal, right? You can either get Airbnb, or you could even rent a house out of somewhere, or stay with relatives if it has to be. Finding a job, you can give them a very good plan about who you have. Maybe you've interviewed with someone, maybe you have done some telephonic interview, or a Skype interview with someone, maybe you have a lot of calls from people, maybe there is you are in an industry which is considered as essential work in Canada as of right now. So any one of this could be used to make a good settlement plan, to explain that this is what you do, this is how you intend to establish yourself, this is what you will do in steps of how you're looking for jobs. You can add emails that you may have with some of the recruiters, exchange with some of the employers, and that becomes your plan. Because see, at the end of the day, if they do not still want to issue you your extension at that point of time, well, there's only so much you can do with it, right? But as of right now, with the way the sporadic emails that have been coming, the isolated ones, one of them you've got, one of them somebody else got, one of them somebody else got. Everybody then, because of social media, everybody shares a screenshot, but nobody knows which country, which background, what was the profile of the candidate. So there are a lot of pieces missing on that puzzle. Maybe they are sending out that email only to specific nationalities based on that country's demographics, or that country's condition, or how the country is reacting to
Right.
COVID situation. We don't know, right?
Right.
Or it could be to somebody in a country where all the COVID related restrictions have been lifted. Everything is, all free and fine. So we do not know what the background of that screenshots that people have been
Right.
sharing. But if
Right.
you have such an email, if you get such an email from CIC, then this has to be your plan, that you have to give them enough reason to believe that you are coming to Canada for permanent settlement, and this is not your soft landing, because soft landing can very well be avoided at this point of time. There is no need for soft landing.
Of course.
Does
So,
that answer?
of course, it does, and I'm sure it's quite fruitful for many, many hundreds and thousands of us. And I'm sure, because I have not received, because I've already raised an extension web form with the IRCC website, and apart from just a generic acknowledgement email, I have not received yet anything apart from that.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's what
but of
everybody is
course,
doing.
but whatever you have said sounds quite good in terms of what we can show as our settlement plan. Let it be in terms of proof of funds, let it be in terms of our approach towards how we plan to settle over there. So, of course, thank you so much, Kubeir. And I must tell you this, that you're doing a pretty good job in this
Thank you.
field.
Thank
And
you.
I really, really appreciate all your efforts in this field.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. Wish
much
you all the best.
on
Thank you, sir.
behalf of everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. That was Siddharth. That was pretty, okay. So using that Siddharth's conversation, we were able to get some more information out to you in terms of what you need to do if you were asked for settlement plan. So we have discussed about COPRs, we have discussed about PPR issues, we have discussed about COPR extensions. We have briefly also spoken about federal skilled worker draws, and when they would be expected, or again, to sort of reiterate, when I would even I would go with summers. I mean, we are already in summers. We are in July. August is one more month for summer, and September brings, or rather, is the onset of your fall. And we would expect that that's or rather, between August and September is when they should again resume. Now, would the next draw be federal skilled worker or CEC? I don't know, and I don't think anybody out there right now knows, because now it has become like, it's like a game of chance. You roll the needle, and you wait for where it's going to spin, or rather spin the needle and wait for where it's going to drop. It could be CEC, it could be federal skilled worker. Maybe CIC is now playing an alternative game. So one draw they will do for CEC, one draw they will do for FSW, or they will continue with CEC for maybe another one or two draws, and then resume all full-fledged, all program draws again. I wish somebody had an answer to this, but nobody. Trust me, and I'm sure at this point of time, maybe even IRCC hasn't got around to finalizing which way they will definitely move, because there is so much of uncertainty as far as COVID is related. So fingers are crossed, and I know it's frustrating, because it really is, because nobody can get a hang of what to plan and what to do in certain scenarios. But until such time, we will have to sort of continue to wait and figure out which way they're headed. Now, so we've done FSW, we've done PPRs, we've done biometrics, right? Now let's take the biometrics. Now, biometrics, what's happening with biometrics? Biometrics, again, so this is what tells me that IRCC is thinking. They're using the gray matter. They're using the logical sense of in a lot of ways. What is the reason for biometrics? That's the first question, because a lot of people don't understand the purpose of biometrics. Biometrics is recording your fingerprints, okay, and your picture by way of their cameras. And what they're trying to do with this is trying to find if you have any common data with any other country, or with any of the big five or big eyes, or five eyes that they call them. So to basically do data sharing with Australia, New Zealand, UK, United States, and Canada. So these countries share open data in terms of a lot of aspects of for the national security reasons. So when they capture your biometrics, they are looking to see if there is any concern for security reasons as far as you're concerned. So this is a matter of national security, right? So, and it is also part of inadmissibility of Canada. So they will check you for if you are inadmissible to Canada for any of the security related issues. So this is the biometrics reason. And as you would agree that it's quite an important aspect in the application process and assessment. Now, the process is different for temporary visas, and the process is different for permanent resident visas. So even if you have earlier recorded biometrics as a visitor, as a temporary worker, when it comes to your applying for permanent residence, you will be required to record your biometrics again. Okay, so these are the basic concerns and questions. Now, as far as people who are inside Canada, right? So just the way lots of contact centers across the world closed down due to COVID, because at the end of the day, recording your biometrics is a very high contact activity, right? So different peoples will come and record their biometrics using the same machine. No matter how many times you sanitize it, the chances of the fact of the virus being spread because of contact through that machine is quite high. So as you would realize and understand that it's an extremely high contact activity, and not only will you have to record your data, somebody will have to guide you to do it. So your proximity with the other person, as well as using that specific machine by multiple people over and over again, is a reason of big concern. And probably that's the reason why it's still being held back in a lot of places. So just the way it was stopped everywhere in the world, even in Canada, Service Canada is the authority which will record biometrics. Even they stopped it. Now, Service Canada resumed operations some time back, but obviously biometrics was not resumed in that. As biometric services were not resumed, and then Canada used their the gray matter. IRCC used the gray matter, and they said, okay, if you are in Canada and you have already recorded, or even if you have not recorded, but if you're applying for temporary visas or extensions, so spouse open work permit, postgraduate open work permit, extension of your visitor record, or changing your status, or whatever temporary visas are there as far as applying them from in Canada is concerned, when you're in Canada, then you are exempt from biometrics. Okay, and again, makes a lot of sense in this case. But if you are applying for permanent residence, then your biometric requirement is not exempted. You will still need to undergo biometrics. Now, Again, as I said, that is a matter of national security, and therefore, there is no point of arguing as to why can't they do this, and it was not being done 2 years back, and why should they do it now? It just doesn't make sense. It's a process, it's a requirement, it's the law. It has to be done. As and when it's safe for them to resume the operations, I'm sure they will, because as I just explained, it's a very high contact activity. So until they can figure out the best way of circumventing this, or trying to figure out how they can avoid any issues related to this contact aspect of it, I guess we'll have to wait as far as biometrics is concerned. Now, also related to biometrics was the question that is the application process on hold, or is the application process continuing while the biometrics is not done or done? Now, for the purpose of study permits, for the people who are applying for study permits outside of Canada, right? So there are a lot of you out there who's applying for study permits, who's applying for visit visas. So if you're applying for visit visa for discretionary travel, your visit visa probably will not be approved, or rather will not be issued at this point of time. You will probably have to wait. As far as people who are applying for study visa or study permits, now as far as you guys are concerned, IRCC has again given an excellent option. So first thing is that if you have an approved study permit, you can start studying online. And if you are completing up to 50% of your studies online, then you will still be eligible for postgraduate work permit for the duration of your studies, which is pretty good, because otherwise that doesn't apply. So that's a good exception that CIC has done. Then they have gone further, because there are so many people out there who are applying for study permits, but because of the biometrics, it's not going any further. Now, biometrics is a national security issue, and they still need to do something about it. So what do they do? So what they've done is, which is great, they have made a two-stage process or two-stage approval for study permit application. So the first one is that they will assess your application without the biometrics, and they will approve it in principle, which basically means that they're happy with your documents, they're happy with everything that you've provided, and they're giving you the approval. You can use that approval in principle and start studying online. All right. The next step would be the final approval, which will come after you have recorded your biometrics, and that is to check if there are any security issues. Now, once your biometrics are clear, your issues are all, your inadmissibility checks are all done, you will be issued with a final visa, and when it is safe to travel, or when the exemptions and restrictions have been lifted, you will be able to travel back to Canada, or you can travel to Canada and then resume your studies. So overall, a good option. Now, for permanent resident applications who are asking this question, will the application be processed without biometrics or not? Well, to a certain extent, it will be, but to a large extent, then they need to wait for your biometrics to be completed. Something similar to what's happening with the study permit visas. Now, in the pre-COVID scenario, they would wait for you to complete your biometrics. Then they would do the info sharing process, which is when they would share your biometric data with the big five, or the Five Eyes, or the other countries that they have the contract, the agreement with, to check if everything is fine as far as your security is concerned. Once that is okay, you go to criminality, do your criminality check based on your police clearance certificates, and then they go with the A11.2 assessment of your application. That is usually how it will follow. As of right now, I am not privy to any inside information to sort of share with you as to what is exactly happening. I don't have that information. So I can't really tell you that have they changed the sequence of this process, or is there a different way of processing, or are they now processing assessment first and waiting for the biometrics? Because nobody knows, right? And the reason why nobody knows is because there have been no PPRs to sort of give you an example for. So yes, you and I can speculate. We can make those assumptions that there is no reason for them to stop the process. They can do it after they can complete the process, wait for the biometrics. I'm happy to make that assumption, all right? But there is no way to confirm that information. So whether they are processing the application without biometrics, or they're holding till the biometrics are done, honestly, I don't know, and I don't think anybody else out there either. So that's the biometrics. Then, okay, Lena says, how about Saskatchewan? So I'm assuming you are asking about Saskatchewan draws, right? So what is happening with Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan earlier would do more frequent draws, right? They are such a They're a darling of PNP applications because they give you so many options. They have so many NOCs which are in demand or rather listed in demand. They give you so much of benefit in different aspects of the application processing. So they are always, as I say, the darling of PNPs. But again, due to the COVID, and I would assume that is because of the COVID, you see, even they were affected in terms of they do not have a full staff strength which is working on the application. So there is obviously going to be a backlog, and I would again assume that is the reason why they are holding back on doing their frequent draws. Again, no inside information here. I really do not know. I wish I knew what exactly is the reason why they are not doing a draw. When will be the next draw? People can assume and give you all kinds of stories, but unfortunately, I don't have any story to tell you as far as why Saskatchewan is not doing any draws as of right now. The fingers are crossed that they will obviously resume the draws, and the only assumption I can make in this case is because of the lower staff strength and not having full staff on duty processing the applications as and how they're happening. They're obviously having to take a step back. Earlier there was shutdown, so a lot of them were working from home. And when you're working from home in such a scenario where so much of information is confidential and needs to be related to a lot of other aspects, even if you're working from home out of a laptop or a computer or whatever, there's only so much you can do. There is so much information you cannot, so many activities you cannot basically complete. So once they did get back to the office, which was not too far back, I'm sure they will be getting back onto their backlogs, and when things do get better as far as they're catching up with speed, they will come back and resume their draws. I know the last draw was quite high as far as Saskatchewan is concerned, and that basically meant that again the priority, not the priority, but you see, when people talk about them trying to give only to people, it's not that. They are just deciding, I want in this particular draw, because they have an annual quota. They have an annual quota of say 6,000 nominations. So they know they probably will issue ITAs for 7,000 people or 8,000 people, depending on whatever is the rejection rate or refusal rate. When they have decided that they want to issue, for example, 8,000 ITAs in a year, then they will break it down that each month I am going to issue, let's say, 800 or 700 or 600 ITAs, and I'm going to distribute them between OIDs and express entry. And I'm going to do 2 draws a month, and I'm going to do each draw of 100 or 200 ITAs. Now, when they have come down to those macro figures in terms of what I will do for each draw, and then they decide, okay, this is the month of July. I haven't done a draw at all this month. Let me do 2 draws in the same time, or rather combined. I will issue 400 ITAs. So when they say I want to issue 400 ITAs, they will pick the top 400 profiles. Now, fortunately, unfortunately, if those 400 are the ones with high scores of 70 plus, you can't really blame Saskatchewan for it, right? Can you? There are people who have relatives. There are people who get job offers, and whether we like it or not, they do get bumped up to the top of the queue. A lot of people complain, why do people with relatives need to be given preference? Well, what you don't understand is that, and Manitoba and Saskatchewan, both of them have somehow perfected this formula, is that people who have families, and when you put a lot of restrictions around that you can only sponsor or you can only give support for one person, or if the person who you have supported leaves the province and goes away, then you will not be able to sponsor somebody else, or you will not be able to support somebody else. When you put all these restrictions, people are very careful. And what is the basic funda of a PNP, or what is the basic logic of a PNP, is that they want you to live and work and make that province their home. Not just come to Canada, not just piggyback on their program, come to Canada and leave the province. But you come to our Facebook groups, you will see so many questions from people always asking, can I leave the province? How soon can I leave the province? Can I land and go away? Can I not have to go to the province? Which basically tells you that their intention was never to live in that province, which basically means they are piggybacking on that province to get their permanent residency and leave. So who's losing? The whole purpose of the PNP program is that the people come and live in that province. That is the reason why they're nominating you. But all if you're going to do is just use them and move away, then they're not, they sort of lose trust in the whole process. So what they're doing, so they're trying to safeguard themselves. They're trying to safeguard their program. They're trying to safeguard their interest. And they have made these additional requirements, or they're giving you additional benefit or additional advantage, because they know that if you have family in the province, you will probably stay longer. If you have a job offer, you will stay longer, or you will at least decide to stay in the province. The percentage of people with the family who've got the family support, the percentage of them moving away versus person who has no family, this is a huge variety, or rather huge variation in that. Therefore, they have found that formula which works for them, and if they use that to sort of safeguard their interest, then why not? So yeah, that's the logic why they do give more preference to, rather give additional points for people who do have families. Right, let's take some more draws. I think we have covered most of the frustrations as far as frustrations would go. Okay. Chetan says, when will they start sending PPRs? Please take my question in the program. This is my first one. Well, your question has been taken, but this question has already been answered. So I suggest that you go back to the beginning of the video and get back and look for the answer there. Right. Okay. What else have we got here? Okay, let's see this one. Does PNP get processed faster than the regular express entry draw? No, there is no priority in the processing times for a PNP or an express entry. They both will be treated as applications in the express entry pool. They will both have to go through the same process of assessment. A lot of people feel that because you are a provincial nominee applications, express entry assessment will be faster because your documents have already been checked. On the contrary, it's the other way around. Because you are a provincial nominee applicant, there will be an additional assessment from the visa officer to check whether you genuinely intend to reside in that province or not. And if everything in your application is tying up to indicate that you do intend to reside in that province, or you will be able to economically establish yourself in that province. Very important factor. So no, they will still check everything. There have been so many cases of applications being refused because their NOC code that they chose did not match. The level of assessment and the level of verification from the province and the CIC is totally different, and they do not have to depend on each other for that, right? So on the provincial level, a certain visa or a certain provincial immigration officer may accept your reference letter even if it doesn't really match your NOC code, because they believe that you were performing the job, right? They feel. CIC, on the other hand, may not accept it because it is not really matching with the NOC code that you have chosen. So an application which was approved for nomination by a province need not necessarily be approved for permanent residency by CIC just because you have a nomination. Okay, they will still do all the checks. They will still check your reference letters. They will still check your inadmissibilities. They will still check your settlement funds and everything that goes into the application. All right. Okay. Arindam says, please provide some guidance on the WES wait times, the meaning of different status and time for individual steps considering the current situation and for physical document. Okay, good question. I don't honestly remember the different steps on the WES times, because there are 7 different EC agencies. If I was going to keep memorizing all the different stages for each of these agencies, I would have had to have much larger brain than that. I have a small pea brain. Anyway, so as far as the wait times are concerned, yeah, we can talk about the wait times. I really do not have any recollection of their individual steps, etc. So as of today, WES is doing electronic verification. So if your college, if your university can electronically verify to WES directly that your credential is genuine, then you can actually get your ECA within 2 weeks or even less in some cases, as we have noticed. Apart from that, if it is going to follow the regular process of paper documentation and and then WES will have to write to your college an email saying, are these documents genuine? And then your college has to respond back, etc. And the back and forth, whatever little bit that happens. If it's going to be the normal process, then it is taking time. It could go well into the 3rd, 4th, 5th month in some cases. But on an average, WES would nowadays, if it was not being verified electronically, then you could expect at least anywhere from 45 to 60 days on the process times. Okay. Wetclicks says self-employed program evaluation of education required in self-employed program. Well, in the self-employed program, you need to basically satisfy the grid point of 35 points. Now, in those 35 points, you will get points for again education, work experience. Was there age in it? I don't remember, right? The grid point. I don't remember the grid point as such, but I know it's 35 points pass mark. Now, if there is any aspect of that grid point where you are claiming points for eligibility, then those need to be proven. Now, if the program requirement is that you should have education, then you will require to prove it, and the way to prove it is always through the ECA. So that's how it is done, right? I hope that answers your question. Lokesh says, what about work permits if the person is in Canada? Well, if you are in Canada and you applied for a work permit, then if it's postgraduate work permit, then it was you're on implied status unless you get it, so you don't have a problem. But for work permits, etc., they've already informed and advised that they no longer will be asking you for biometrics, so you're pretty good there. Okay, what all comes under security check? From Harman Sidhu, is there any kind of documents which a candidate needs to provide? Expired COPR. Okay, so you're asking me, you have applied for extension and they reopen your application to reissue you a COPR or extension. Well, in your case, or rather in such cases, no, you don't need to provide any documentation. They will do an online security check as they do normally, just to check if there are any outstanding warrants, search notices, Interpol notices, etc., on your name, on your record, and to see if there is any kind of inadmissibility record or inadmissibility requirement which might come for your name. So that would basically be your security check. Okay. Do you know anything about medical extensions to be provided for ongoing PR application? Well, if it's an ongoing PR application, then your medical needs to be valid at the time they finalize the application. If your medicals have expired and the validity of the medicals is 12 months, then they will ask you to redo your medicals. Once you redo your medicals, you will need to update your medical confirmation. Once you provide that to them, then they will give you the validity, or they will give you the your PPR, or sorry, they will issue your PR visa in line with the validity of the new medicals. Okay. Sudhakar says, any chances of OINP tech draws? Well, they have already done. I think the tech draw was some time back, right? No, I mean, again, when they will decide to do another tech draw, nobody can say. As I explained earlier, they all have annual quotas, and the annual quotas will then be broken down in how many ITAs they can issue and when they can issue, under which program they have to. So it's for example, for Ontario, it's 6,600 annual quota, and that is all distributed amongst various programs that it have. PhD master's program, employer, job offer stream, international graduate, or whatever the other, or HCP, and then the French speakers, and then the generic ones, and then the tech draw. So all that 6,600 quota has to be distributed, and of course the entrepreneur stream as well. So they have to distribute this quota amongst all their different programs. Now, when they do that, then they have to identify, okay, I am going to give tech draw 2,000 nominations or 1,000 nominations. Now, for 1,000 nominations, I may have to issue 2,000 notifications of interest, because not everybody accepts it, right? So these 2,000 notifications of interest, I will have to distribute it into 4 draws. So I will do one in Jan, one sometime in June, one in August. So that probably will be their psyche or their logic. Again, I do not know how that would work. I'm just making an assumption, but there is no way to predict as far as when the next draw will happen or what their scores will be. But just the way we know Ontario, they always do their draws in tandem with express entry. So if express entry draw, for example, the last one, let's take the federal skilled worker draw, was 478. So then you would see that, and if Ontario has to issue, say, 200 or 500 ITAs for tech draw, so they'll pick the tech NOCs, so 6 NOCs for tech. They will go to the express entry pool. They'll say, I want to take 500. I want to issue 500 notifications, and the people who have those primary NOCs of those 6 NOC codes, they will be given those notifications of interest, and you will very soon realize that there are so many of those people who will be in the pool, and therefore your draw will be from 477 until 468, 465, just like it happened, with the general draw. 467 to 471. Are you kidding me? I mean, just 4 points range for 10 NOCs that they issued. But that's how it is, right? Because the demand and supply. There are so many people right now in Express Entry Pool, more than 140,000 people in the Express Entry Pool, and they're always joining in. Even after the draws happen, 3,900 people come out, but then the next batch of 4,000 profiles join in. So it's a demand and supply. As long as the demand is going to be high and the supply is restricted, the scores will always keep, jumping up. Okay, right. This has been good and it was interesting. Hopefully, I was able to address some of the main frustrations that most of you have. And if you're not following me on Instagram, please do. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, then you should, because we do interesting videos, and I would like to sort of say that I can be part of that journey that you're taking, and probably add some value to it. So yeah, please do subscribe to the channel. That will be good. And this has been pretty good. It was very interesting, and I hope I was able to answer most of your questions in terms of frustrations that have been creeping up in people's life. And this was all good. Well, that's all from me today. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. We will do this again, hopefully again next Sunday, if the wife doesn't have any schedule for me. Yeah, let's do it again next Sunday if there's nothing much happening. And until such time, bye-bye.